For the final video on graphing lines, we go to a most often misunderstood concept, and that's the idea of graphing horizontal and vertical lines. Now, the reason these are so challenging sometimes to students is because there's usually only one variable in the line, and so whereas most lines have a y and an x variable, horizontal lines only have one or the other, and so that can sometimes present a challenge. Now, I would never say this in most of mathematics, but sometimes you might just have to memorize this. Now, I will explain it to you so that you can understand why it works, but sometimes just remembering what the horizontal line and the vertical line are is very useful. So let's just take a look here. You can see in our little summary box that horizontal lines are a graph of the form y equals to c value. And when we say c value, we're talking about a constant number. So something like y equals to 5 would be a good example. Vertical lines, on the other hand, however, or x equals to a constant value. So you could say x equals to 5. And so that would be how you would write the equation of a vertical and a horizontal line. So let me kind of show you through this example down here of why that works. So if we look at part A, y equals to 3. Okay, and you can see y equals to 3 clearly right through here. Now, what's so important about this is that every value, if I were to plot these points on y equals to 3, and I'm just going to randomly put a bunch of points on there, this is going to be -1 up 3. This is going to be 1, 2, 3 up 3, so that's -3, 3. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5, 3. And so what the trend you should be seeing here is on y equals to 3, every y value is 3. And so that's where we get the equation y equals to 3. Now this is sometimes counterintuitive because it's a horizontal line and we're used to the horizontal line being associated with the x-axis. Well, that can be a little confusing at times because you want to tend to say x equals to something and it's really not. As a matter of fact, you need to recognize that the equation for the x-axis is actually y equals to 0. And so this is a very important point that you need to keep in your memory. Now, part B says to graph x equals to -2. And so I'm just going to erase this other part so that we can focus on the vertical line this time. So x equals to 2 is coming straight through there. And if you are paying attention to the horizontal line, the vertical line is the same. Except the difference here is every value on the vertical line for x is equal, in this case, -2. So that is a quick and easy way to figure out what the equation of the horizontal or vertical line is. Just look at what the constant value for every point is going to be. Now, again, a y-axis is a vertical line, but it's counterintuitive because the equation is x equals to 0. So those are some very important concepts for you to remember, and a lot of standardized testing makers like to throw these in to see who was really paying attention when they were learning how to write equations of lines and graph equations of lines. So what I'd like you to go ahead and do is pause the video and work the 2 sample problems, or actually all 4 parts. And remember, if you ever have any questions, be sure to ask your teacher in class. It's very important that as you're going through these notes and videos that you're making some mental notes, and you're also making some notes, questions that you can ask later on, because you're not doing this in the classroom. So go ahead and work sample problem 3. Okay, for sample problem 3, part A and B, I'm going to do on the left graph, and you can see it says y equals to -1. So that means y equals, these are horizontal lines, and so I'm going to put y equals to -1. So at -1, I'm going to just draw a horizontal line all the way across. And then for y equals 3, I'm going to do the same thing at the 3 value, and that's y equals to 3. For C and D, we now have x equals, and so this is vertical lines. And so x equals to 5 would be the vertical line at x equaling to 5. And then here's the tricky one, x equals to 0. Well, x equals to 0 is actually the y-axis. So that's x equals to 0. So there's a quick lesson on graphing horizontal and vertical lines. And remember, if you can learn this very well, you could steal a point here or there on standardized test.